Hey there, it's Tad Hargrave from marketingforhippies.com, and I am joined here by the lovely Corrina Gordon-Barnes of youinspireme.co.uk, one of my favorite colleagues in London, England, and we're here talking about niching. And so this is a topic that is so frustrating for a lot of people, and it's something that gets a lot of our colleagues talk about. There's a lot out there, and I'm curious for you what you see as the biggest, what's missing in the conversation? What's not there in the conversation that you wish was?
More and more recently, I'm looking at this idea of leadership. Oh. So when I first started thinking about niche, and I call it tribe because it feels friendlier, like there's a community of people, and this community of people, they kind of congregate around a core thing that they identify with in common.
Yeah.
But they're kind of looking for a leader. And so when we are marketing, we're not marketing our products or our services. We're marketing the movement, and we're leading that movement in a really kind of service leadership way, like a humble leadership. We're not leading from the front like, unless we are. But we're facilitating. We are. Like, I care about this tribe, I care about whatever it is that you're struggling with or that you're yearning for, and I'm going to put a stake in the ground and I'm going to offer stuff that's going to help you with that, and their products and services that I offer through my business. But really, I'm a leader in that I'm willing to take a stand and say something that matters on your behalf and do something on your behalf. I'm not hearing a lot of that when people talk about niche businesses, because often it's about, like, it's easier for me to have a niche business, so it's all about serving me. I hear that quite a bit. Not for me, but from some people.
So there's like this orientation around not just like identifying a specific group of people and marketing to it, but how do you support that community and take a role of leadership in that community? And I like that.
Yes. And so, like, for me, a lot of it is about being a champion for that tribe. Whatever that is, like, I know you use that example of like the yoga for round bodies, right? She's not that woman. Is she called Anna? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like taking a stand for that group, and you're not selling to them. You're helping them. You're with them. You're linking them up to other people in that tribe as well, and being a facilitator.
Yeah.
That's what gets me really excited.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things I know that you were at one of my parties in the UK, and that's one of the things that I've done. Mostly I've done it in Toronto, Vancouver, I've done it in London, Edmonton, but creating events where I bring together some of my favorite colleagues, and then we have a time where everyone can introduce themselves and, for 30 seconds each, and get to know who else is in the room and connect with each other. There's one level where I get no immediate benefit from that. If they connect with each other and they do business together, it's not like they're like, oh, let me cut you a check on that. So there's no direct selfish financial benefit. And yet, probably from a positioning standpoint, just from their gratitude, and the fact that and I think what people miss too is that when the community is like, word of mouth inherently spreads within a community or tribe of people. And so the stronger and tighter knit that tribe is, the faster word of mouth spreads.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing something good, that's an awesome thing.
And also it's that thing of vertical marketing. I heard this concept and it so clicked for me that it's better for 100 people to hear of you 7 ways than like 700 people to hear of you once. And I see that with tribe. So I'm thinking with the people that you brought together at that party, like, we all know each other, and then so we talk about you and to the same people, and it's not, you start getting known to the same people, and like you say, it gets tighter.
I really like that. So 100 better to be known.
It's like it stacks up like that, rather than like that.
I never really thought about it in that way, because when you're, and that's to me there's the argument for niching, because if you're trying to just reach everybody, you might have 700 people hear about you once.
Yeah.
But if you have a particular community, your name may just keep coming up again and again. And there's something about this law of familiarity too, where people are just like, oh, I've just heard that name enough.
Yes.
In such glowing terms that I trust the person even though I've never met them. And I know I have that with a number of colleagues where I keep hearing their name,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, they must be great because everybody I know who I respect likes them.
Well, it's the same for anything. Like you go to, you want to see a film, right? And you hear the name of the film, and you just remember the first time you just register it. Like, okay, there's a film.
Yeah.
And then someone else says it, and then a third and a fourth person, and you're like, right, okay, now I have to really go and see that film. That sounds, familiar now.
Well, and that also strikes me, like, when we think about films, the difference between maybe some, I don't know, generic Hollywood movie versus a movie like The Secret. Because it's like, how many times did you hear about The Secret?
Yes.
You know, and people who...
You're in the in-crowd who, we know about this film, and it's called The Secret, so it kind of feels secret as well, but...
That's funny. Yeah, and if you were a part of the, like, holistic New Age scene, you could not avoid that movie.
Yeah.
So there's the power of, like, the particular community that movie was really focused on.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what do you see as the biggest... What do you feel is, like, most important in the conversation about niching, but also what's a...
Bless you! Woo! It must be what you're about to say. You know, when you sneeze, it means something's true.
Really? Oh.
Apparently, that's what they say in The Secret. Not really.
What do you feel is most important? But what's a distraction in the whole niching conversation?
Oh, demographics.
Say more about that.
Well, I got really distracted in the beginning. So not the very beginning, but when I first started to get my niche that is my tribe now, I looked at the demographic characteristics of my tribe and I went, they're pretty much all women. Right. So I started using women as being one of my identifiers, right? So people were like, Corrina coaches women to start businesses, women to do marketing. And then it was, I don't know how long ago, I just suddenly went, hang on, it's not about them being women. It just so happens that most people in this helping healing arena are women, right. But it's not their womanness that I care about. Right? A guy who is marketing a helping healing business has exactly the same challenges, and it was getting me annoying, the whole kind of, like, it was really heterosexist, and like men do this and women do this. I was like, that's just bullshit. It's not like women don't do things differently from men. I don't see. I just think people are people, and so I think that people get distracted by, I work with people 25 to 45. That's not the core identity that people identify around, and that I think we need to be not distracted by that, so that we can focus on what is at the heart of what people identify with.
I love that. Yeah. Do you know Lisa Cherney?
No, of her. I don't know. I haven't.
You've heard of her a few times. Interesting.
See, this is what it is through you.
Right.
Lisa.
But she is this really... We were talking about demographics, and she had this really interesting process. She would take her clients through where she would say, what are the demographic assumptions that you're making? So they're women, 25, 45, whatever. And then she would go through each one, and she would say, why that?
Yes.
And there was always some assumption behind it. And this one lady, she was talking about only women, again.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, men are so domineering. And, like, they're so, like, they're just not into, like, cooperative business. And they're very da-da-da. And so she's like, okay, so I'm getting that in your clients. You really want them to be, like, cooperative, open-minded, collaborative. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yeah. It's like, so, okay. So it's not really about women. Because if you can find a man that was like that. And she was like, oh, right. And there can be similar things about age or income or ethnic background, which isn't to say, there might be somebody who's like a dating coach and they just coach men. And there may be a real specific valid reason, but it's interesting to question it. Yeah, absolutely.
I read once a really great piece. I think it was Catherine Kane. Don't know if you've heard her. And she said, it's the thing that people say hell yes about. So, like, you say to me, Corrina, you're a woman. I say, yeah, I am. It's not, it's not particularly exciting. It's just what is. You say something else. You say you like raw vegan cheesecake. I say, oh, hell yeah, I do. And that's the core identifier that I would be part of someone's tribe who makes raw vegan cheesecake.
That's funny. Yeah, and that's true, because I feel like the demographics, it's those outer things don't tend to, they aren't the things that most people most strongly identify with. If I said, oh yes, you're a black person, it's not like,
oh my gosh, yes.
Oh yes, God, thank you for seeing that, or you're 25 years old. But if it's like, oh, you're a Christian, or yeah, you are you're a Buddhist, or you are an anarchist, or you're a huge Doctor Who fan, I'm like, yes, you see me, you really see me.
You're in that tribe, all right.
Yeah, and it's that stuff. It's interesting. Not only resonates more with the people, but makes those people a lot easier to find, because now we kind of know where we would find them.
Yeah, because people. So let's say a client says, right, it's women aged 25 to 45. Where do you find women aged? You're only going to go kind of generic women in business, but then it's not maybe about them being in business. So, whereas women who love Ford Fiestas, you go to a Ford conference. That's a terrible example. You know what I mean?
No, but actually, it's not such a terrible example, because what about people who love Harley Davidsons?
Yeah, okay, much better.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a vehicle company.
Yeah.
It's a company. It's a company. And yet there is a whole tribe that has been built around that go on road trips together. And there are other... it's really actually not that bad an example, because there are so many vehicle companies I've heard of that have done these amazing things where they'll do huge road trips together of people who own this particular kind of car, people who own VW vans, you know, the Beetles and the cars, and people can, as long as that's not a Pontiac Aztek. It's terrible. But, people do also have sometimes a tribe around those things, too, which is interesting. And I'm curious, what are your favorite examples of niche businesses, ones that you've seen that you're like, oh, man, that's such a, do you have any that come to mind?
So I have a client, and she last time I spoke with her, she's not a client anymore. She was kind of playing on the edge of this, but it was like raw food and healthy eating for clubbers, right? For like the clubbing generation.
That's awesome.
I was like, isn't it? But she's still kind of like pulling back from it, like, oh, I'm not sure, it's too niche, it's like, no, these people who want to, like, they want to be able to drink, I don't know, vodka all night or whatever, they want to still be party animals, they want to still be clubbers, and they want to drink green juice the next day.
Right? The two other examples I had on a similar thing was, I was just talking with a friend of mine last night, and she's like, I've kind of been thinking about writing a book called The Healthy Alcoholic, because she's like, I love to drink, but it's like, I also know how to take care of myself sort of outside of that. And when I was in Toronto, there's some people there, and they'd kind of been a part of the hipster scene and a lot of the indie bands, late night shows, drugs going around, and they had the idea. They didn't go with it, so this is open to anyone listening. But it was something like Healthy Hipster.
Oh, nice! Yeah.
And they had the idea of like making like little lunch pails, like retro '80s, tin lunch pails and stuff that they would fill with stuff that they could be selling and supplements, and like, okay, if you're gonna party, here's your recovery kit.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I think you wrote a brilliant piece when you talk about the whole paradox thing. I think when paradox is involved, then it's a really, really good niche. So your niche is really awesome. Marketing, people think suits, whatever they think, hippies. So I would use you as a great example.
Well, thank you. Well, and it's what's interesting too about just thinking about it now with the whole oxymoron and using contrasting elements. Is often each of those elements is speaking to a slightly different community. So there's like the one, like there's a chocolate for breakfast. And so, you've got people like, okay, healthy breakfast crowd. And you've got people, the chocolate loving crowd. And it's kind of like finding this overlap or, marketing for hippies. There's the marketing crowd or the hippie crowd. And then there's that overlap.
Useful.
So it can be interesting as an exercise in niching. I've been realizing to look at like what are all the different communities you're a part of, and again, if a niche is your place in the world, then it's like, and most people I find are bridges between communities in some way.
That's such a nice way of putting it.
We're never just a part of one community. There's often multiple ones, and sometimes there's just an acknowledgement of like, oh yeah, that's my thing in this world, is to be the bridge between these disparate worlds, and that may inform the name of the business, the direction of it, But it also informs a tribe, because there are some people who are like my grandmother, like 50 years ago, was like taking some of the first yoga classes, very into kind of esoteric spirituality, and gets her news from Fox News, you know? So it's like there's these like right-wing New Agers.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Melts my mind, but there's a whole thing there. Yeah.
If you can be a bridge and you give people a place to come together, right? And it kind of, I guess it really fits with the whole hippie ethos. You're breaking down barriers. It's not like so actually, niching can be like boundary breaking. People think niching makes you limited and like in a box, and actually niching could be a way of breaking down boxes and creating whole new spaces in between.
I like that. Yeah, I think that is. Niching is often creating a new space. And sometimes, I think often what happens in niching is there's a space that has been created, but sometimes nothing's totally stepped into it. And like there's a need, that there are people who are existing between these worlds, and maybe because they are between those worlds, like I think of in the queer community in the States, there are like certain ethnic groups too, where it's like in their cultures that is just so not okay. Yeah. And because of that, they have just the challenges they have as a queer person are a little bit different than maybe a white person might have as a queer person, because they've got additional like family traditional things that show up, and so it's like they have a particular set of issues because of the nature of the different communities they're a part of. Yeah. And if somebody were then to step up and say, oh, I work with people in that community and help them with those issues, or we're starting a project around that, there's often this just huge swell of response to it. Which I think is I heard this great example. This guy was saying, if you wanted to open a burger stand, and you could only have one competitive advantage, one strategic advantage, that's all you're allowed to pick, and you could make it anything, what would it be? And people are often like, well, it'd be a vegetarian kind of food truck, or it would be all organic, or all local, or I'd have the best sauces, or all the sauces, they're homemade, or best tasting, whatever. People come up with their advantages. And he said, the truth is, if you could only have one, there's only one I'd recommend, and that's that you put yourself right next to a hungry crowd.
Yeah.
Because if you're there, it's like, even if your burgers are kind of mediocre, but you're the only thing there, people are going to be so much more likely to respond and to want to... And that doesn't mean you don't do all the other things. But there is that question of who's the hungry crowd, and I find often the hungry crowd, there's just some community where their needs haven't been met in some way. And when somebody shows up and is like, oh, I see that you all have these needs and I can help.
Yeah, and isn't that amazing that business is so much more than I think people assume it is, in that it's about giving people a sense of belonging. So this is the bigger context of business, right? That we, as business owners, give people a place to belong that they maybe haven't even found ever before. Like that community you talked about, an Asian lesbian living in an area wherever. If your business gives her a sense of belonging, then that's an amazing job you're doing.
Yeah, which gets back to what you were saying in the beginning about leadership. I feel like there is this, and it is interesting. It's a funny balance, because sometimes these things that we do don't make you any money. Like, let's say hosting some of the meetup, like in the short term, they may not be huge money makers. But if you really love that community and you're excited to be a part of it for a long time and serve it for a long time, helping that community grow and become stronger does put you in a position of leadership and trust. And then when you do go to offer things later, there's a guy, I met a guy named Mal. I think that his website is meetupzoo.com.
Okay.
But his whole thing is like, how do you use meetup groups as a marketing strategy? And but I don't see it as it's the slow marketing approach, I guess,
Yeah, because you're building loyalty. You're you're giving before you're even making any kind of an offer, maybe even, I mean, you're doing it kind of, I mean, I think you do it simultaneously. So you're always giving and you're always offering, giving and offering and giving, offering and receiving. And it's easy to receive when a group's been given to it. It's like, yeah, you've made an offer, they want to give to you. It becomes really natural. It doesn't feel like business. It just feels like good people doing good stuff and getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Are there any other thoughts that come up for you around niching that you'd like to share, or things that you're exploring or edges you're looking at?
So like going back to what you were saying about the hungry crowd, I say just stop trying to find clients. That they're already looking for you. So be in position to be found by them. Stop thinking that you're in business for you, and realize that so for many, I think probably most people watching this, the thing you're doing is you're calling. And it's like, well, why am I being called to this? It's not because I woke up one morning and I thought, I know, let's make loads of money doing this thing, making people have something that they don't want. Of course not. We're in this because we want to help people. We have a passion, we have a gift that we want to help people with. So you've got to assume that this is how I think the universe is like designed. We have this passion, we have this gift because there's a group of people calling us for that group, for that gift. Right, so something that I will do with my clients is have them do a visualization of, like, imagine someone sitting in their home or in their place of work or wherever they are, where they would be really aware that they have a need or a challenge or a yearning. And imagine them feeling that and being like, putting a call out to the universe, like, I just need help with this thing, or I'm just looking for, like, it doesn't have to be profound. It can be, I'm just really want a really cool laptop cover, like the one you showed. I just need something, I want something. And the fact that you're getting that little like nudge at the back of your head, that's the universe saying, come on, that's you. That's why you're being called to business. So I think we are guardian angels for our tribe.
Can you say more about that? Because I love that metaphor that you use.
Yeah, we're the answer to their prayers. However profound or kind of shallow their prayers are, it's still a prayer for something that they need and want. And we just show up and give it. And that's what makes business so freaking easy, when we're just responding to a need that's already there.
And what I love about that metaphor, because I remember I heard that from you, and it was the thing that I loved about it was the sort of visualization of, like, imagine you're on a cloud and you're looking at the world and there's that particular group of people, but knowing that there's all these other guardian angels out there too that are taking care of other people. So it's like, we don't need to look after everybody because they've all got their own angels.
And this is, I think, what stops a lot of people from niching, is because we want to help and give and be generous. We're like, I can't let anyone go unfed, right? There's all these hungry people everywhere. I can't let anyone go unfed. I think we need to stop being so self-important. Like, you're the only one who has food, and all these other people have food to give. So don't take it upon yourself to be the only giver.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me for this little conversation about niching. And if people want to get to know more about you, learn more about you, I wonder if you could just maybe say a bit more about your business and where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm over at so the whole word, inspireme.co.uk. It is .co.uk because I am in England. I'm actually in Cambridge in England. I'm not a Londoner, I'm a Cambridger. And I make marketing easier. So I'm all about clarity, getting things clear, easy, simple. So I teach a program called Turn Your Passion to Profit that's all about making things easier. And I also teach blogging. So how to blog to help more clients. So people can come find out about that over at youinspireme.co.uk.
Awesome, and I very much recommend that you do if you're interested, because Corrina's really brilliant. She joined me at one of the marketing workshops I did in London and did a little piece of it that people were raving about, and she's pretty great. So, as you can see, obviously. Well, I look forward to connecting with you down the road, and thanks everyone for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.